All right, we got a few people here.
Looks like I have 2 of me.
Jeff, something's up with your sound, but you're here.
Is it not working?
Oh, it is now.
I just said there was 2 of me. I'm not sure how I'm doing that, but that's impressive.
Oh yeah, the man, the myth, the legend.
I hate it for y'all. Oh, it's Alex.
No, it's me, Jeff. It's because I'm recording it. Don't worry.
Very cool. So we will wait a little bit here. Get some things queued up. I don't know how many of you are here and participating or have it on or unmuted, but what do you think's happening in the market right now? What are you guys seeing? We'll go with who is, I can't see names.
I can see him. Is that Steve Burke or somebody on Steve Burke's team?
There you go. Yeah, there's Steve Burke, Chris. Someone's got their video on. I'm not sure who that is. She's smiling.
It's me. My name's Marissa. I'm very new, so I'm actually here to learn about what's going on with the market.
Oh, well, that's actually, you're the perfect person to ask. What do you think it's like?
It's hot. It's
Okay.
a seller's market for sure, what I've learned. Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm here to really learn the numbers about it.
Are you from Asheville?
No, my husband is. He grew up here. I grew up in Wilmington, but I've been in Charlotte for the last 10 years. So,
Oh, so how long have you been in Asheville?
about 1.5 years.
All right. Gut feeling, just running around the world and whatnot. What do you think the average price of a home in Asheville is?
I would probably say in the upper 300 to 400.
Okay. This is a good guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out, right?
Yeah. Well, I've been setting myself up on searches and stuff with MLS, so I'm kind of seeing a little bit.
Yeah, being proactive. No, that's the way to do it.
Jackson.
All right. So I guess we'll get started here in 1 second. I guess we'll wait till 35. It's recorded, so anyone can show up at any point.
I say don't wait, Zach. Just go for
All
it.
right. Welcome. Let's kick it off. All right. So November is a month of change. We have seen a lot smaller numbers in active listings and overall listings for about 5-6 months now, honestly. But we've consistently beat this time last year. We've continued to do that, but we've now dropped down in many respects to last year's levels across the board. Whereas previously, even though we had less overall activity, or not activity, excuse me, listings inventory, we were still listing more, selling more, under contract more, and month over month, right, increasing, and that's changing. So we'll loop back to the executive summary at the end, because it's kind of just summarizing what we're going to go through slide by slide here. But let's look at the volume, right? So new listings, 32% less new listings compared to last month. That's a serious drop. That's noteworthy, right? And so I've got the other tabs open here. Here's Henderson County, 36% less new listings. And then in Haywood, 42% less new listings added in the month of November. So if you're finding it difficult to get listings, you are not alone, which is, a double-edged sword. One, that makes it difficult. Two, if you're trying to tell the story that now's a good time to sell, hey, you are one of the few on the market. So whatever your level of challenge would have been to sell it previously, it has to be alleviated at least a little bit right now, right? And so if you look at that top row, the top row of numbers, as always, is compared to this time last month. And then the bottom row is compared to this time last year. So thankfully, we'll go through again. Our bottom row, excluding active listings, which has been down about 40%, at least for Buncombe for 5+ months at this point, our bottom row is still green. But for the first time in a while, our top row is basically all red, right? So this is Buncombe County, Henderson County, right, and Haywood County for these metrics. So the big story is remaining active listings were significantly below last year. But as you'll see here, I've got to hide my thing there. So less under contract compared to last month, less new listings, less homes sold. That's kind of a new story. That's in Buncombe. In Henderson, we have the same metrics doing the same thing and some increased withdrawals as well. So less under contract, less homes sold, 18% less homes sold in Henderson, 16% less homes sold in Haywood, in Buncombe, excuse me, and then 8% less in Haywood. But we'll see shortly, Haywood had nothing for sale to begin with, so you can only go so far down.
Zach,
Pardon?
can you hear me?
Yeah.
So for especially for new people, if you're visualizing the market like a supply funnel, we've been, even though we've been putting fewer in the top, we've been taking this more out of the bottom than we've ever taken out. So especially when we see a 30% plus drop in what we're putting in the top of the funnel, it is definitely, that's to Zach's point, that's something that makes a huge difference on what we're going to be able to harvest later out of that funnel or out of that pipeline.
Oh yeah. So just because we're on it, right? So there's two graphs that show that. So your red is your active listings. You'll notice it's a downward trend line, right? But it's also much smaller than the same time last year in November. So there's been less active. Now your green are your under contract, and together that's all the homes that are available. So you'll notice that's still shorter, but going down, right? And so when you have a month like this, I've got to hide my window again. You see, so the red is new listings added, and the green is homes sold, listings removed from that availability, right? So you'll notice that we sold more than we added. So we really reduced supply, right?
Yep.
And seasonally, if you look the same time last year, kind of the same thing, but nowhere near as drastic, right? Nowhere near as drastic. So that is part of the story. Just to continue through this, days to close, that's another trend we'll bring up shortly. That's increasing, and that's been steadily increasing for a couple months now. Average days on the market, the time it's taking to sell, that's increasing a little bit as well. We'll get into that. Absorption rate, month inventory, we'll cover this. Now, the things that remain strong are your average sales price, your median sales price, which we'll get to, and your average list sale. There's a story going on there as well in Buncombe, at least. So here we have Henderson, those same metrics, days to close. All right, it's doing well in Henderson. And again, that's a metric that you kind of don't have control over. That's everything from inspections to the mortgage process and everything. But as you're planning out your contracts and advising your clients, then you might want to say we should probably budget for more time depending, and then we'll get into the price ranges and all that good stuff, right? So Henderson, a little bit healthier in this respect. Days on market still coming down, days to close still coming down. Sales price, the average is a little bit lower, but we'll get to that. It's very, very historic highs. But look at this, months of inventory, a little bit over 1 month of inventory. In Buncombe County, again, a little bit over, but slightly more, not by much. And then in Haywood, you know, look at this. So Haywood has, even though it says 1.3 months of inventory, it's like nothing. It's a much smaller number. But again, days to close is staying relatively healthy in Haywood, and then days on the market still going down. So that this versus last month, decrease in days on the market is because last month took a long time. Last month had a lot of inventory that was just sitting there that finally sold. So that number isn't exactly, most representative of what's happening. So sales price. So if you go to average sales price on this slide 4 here, so you've got your macro market, which is all Buncombe County. That's what this whole report is about, basically, except for this slide. And so this slide is about your micro markets, right? So 0 to 200, 2 to 250, excuse me, and it goes down, right? So you look at the 400 basically to 499, so $400,000 to $500,000 homes sold for above asking. 100.29 and 100.5, and that's average, right? That's all of them.
That's crazy.
If you look at how many homes sold, right, that's 55 homes. That's not nothing. And then 900 to 1 million sold for 106%, right? So things are happening. We'll look at this same slide in Henderson very quickly, right? So your 250 to 300 sold for above asking. But across the board, the average sale is higher than this time last month. Oops. And then Haywood had a great market in 400 to 450. Now you got to think this is an average sale, right? That means of the 10 homes that sold in this price range, it's still averaged to over 100. So this is healthy. That part is a great story. And then over here you've got your absorption rate and your months of inventory. So even though if you go here, the absorption rate for the county is 55%. Which you can also find right here at the bottom. This last row is the whole county, all prices combined, right? Well, if you've got a less expensive home, now remember, above 20%, you'll see it on the right here if you ever need to explain it to someone. It explains first off what the absorption rate is, which is the rate at which homes sell in a specific market over a month. And above 20% is a seller's market. Well, 130 basically, that's above 20%. 94, that's above 20%. 100, right? So you're seeing that this is ultra competitive. So even though it's 55 overall, look at where your client's home is. It could be significantly more competitive, right? So our months of inventory, again, for the county, 1.3, right? Not if you're in the 200 to 250, right? Not if you are in anything else, really. 300 to 350. So that is the county average, but you always want to look at the price range that you're dealing with for your client specifically to get a little bit more granular view. So now moving forward, well, and just really quickly, analogously in Henderson, you'll see 140, you'll see the same things, same skill for every report for every county. That's part of the beauty of this. You don't have to relearn anything.
When we see a percentage asking price that is above, right? So when exceeding 100%, that is a great story for you to tell as an agent when you're in a listing appointment and you're having a discussion about pricing, because a seller perceives that if they list it low, they will sell it low. And what you have on this piece of paper, when you're showing an average above 100, what you're saying is, the market will adjust. So let's price your home correctly, and demand will push it where it needs to be. Because often your sellers will push the other way. We'll list it high and then negotiate. It doesn't work that way. And this is a way that you can actually quantify that. You can take this piece of paper as a tool and show them the market is adjusting up as a result of supply and demand.
Yep. And so another clarification there. So this is the average list sale. So this is the price it was listed at when it sold, right? That doesn't mean it's the original list price necessarily. So the other side of that conversation, if you do have clients that want to price too high and they haven't sold yet, then you can go to their price range and be like, look, when we get this right, we're going to get exactly what we want. And not only that, average days on market, we've been on a month or more and something's not happened. And again, that's average, right? That's all of the homes that sold divided. The median, that, you know, where the middle of that list would be, is going to be lower than every one of these averages. And you can pull that up on Fast Stats and stuff like that if you want to come a little bit extra prepared. And I would recommend that. And then if you're a buyer, right, same conversation with the buyer. They want to come in low. Hey, guess what? These homes are flying off the shelf. Don't do that. It's not going to go well for you. So again, every one of these conversations has two sides to it. And they say the same thing. It's just know your audience. Who are you talking to? So volume and activity, right? Scary graphs, just look at the shapes and colors. It's pretty simple. The shape on the right, smaller than the shape on the left. So there's less overall, and that's at the bottom here. Every month, the points more or less stay the same, so you can learn the market and learn this document as well. So overall volume, which is both of them, under contract and active, is down 8%, but down 21% for this time last year. And you'll see in the executive summary, I start adding more color. I believe that's the 5th month in a row that it's been down over 20%, right? So that's substantial, right? So then it comes down to here. So total homes under contract decreased 7%, right? But 21% more than this time last year, right? So again, that's the greens. See this green? This green is bigger than that green. And so again, same thing is going to go to every one of these charts. You go from right to left to look at this time last year, and then you'll see there's 2 months extra on the left here, seasonality. What happened between October and November last year? Well, there was a decrease as well, right? But look at the size of the red and greens, not the same thing. The market is different than it was this time last year. So listings and closings. Again, at the top, you'll always find the legend. What are we looking at here? You've got your new listings in red and your homes sold in green. So this is a very rare thing for Buncombe. In fact, if you look at the last 15 months, it's only happened one other time, last December, right? And so we'll know, looking at this graph, that this is a seasonally slow time in general, but not like this, right? So compared to last year, new listings, and it's all over here on the right, it decreased 32% from October. The red, that's a significant drop. Even though it went down last year, significant drop this year, right? So it's seasonal, but it's more so than usual, right? But we're still up 6% from last year's number, and that's with 42% less overall active homes for sale. So the market is strong, right? It's not that the market's wavering, it's just ultra competitive, and that's the story. That's a great story for a listing, and it's a great story to motivate some buyers, right? So homes sold decreased at significant 16%. You'll see that drop here, right? This is our green line. And yet we still enjoyed more closings in this time last year, up for the 5th month in a row, 27%. So this green line's been higher than that green line for the same time last year, 5 months in a row. That's something to be said, right? And what does this tell us? It tells us that despite the pandemic, the continued year-over-year increase in home sales that we saw in November is evidence of the housing market's resilience. Someone saying something? All right, well, if you wanted to, jump in at any point. The more buy-in we get, the better. Home prices in Buncombe. Back to that first question. 430. I don't know how many people would say 430 is the average price of a home. You know, that's high. That's great. And then the median, right? So what is the difference? The average is if you were to take all the homes sold, divide it by how many homes sold. So that $7 million home that Brad sold not long ago will be offset by the, the modular home that gets sold in the same month. It'll bring that average really, really high. The median is if you take them all in a line and grab the middle one. So the fact that there's a gap here, what does that mean? Well, I hooked you up. It's always here, right? The consistently higher average versus median price tells it that Buncombe's high-end market, those expensive homes, are pulling up the rest of the market because that spread is so large, right? So even though the trend in average home prices is going up, it's going up in median prices as well. And so when you get to the executive summary, again, I bring that up, but you'll look from 300 to 353, that's 50 grand more in the median. That's great, right? Very, very good. Moving along. Oh, and then, so what are these numbers on the graphs? Every graph will have anywhere from 3 to 5 numbers. It'll always have this month. It'll always have last month. It'll have the 12-month high. It'll have the 12-month low. And it'll have this same time last year. And then everything else you can just figure out by looking at the shapes. But sometimes the same number goes twice. So last month, right, 350, 360, you'll see that sometimes they play the 12-month high and sometimes they play the 12-month low. So that's why some graphs have more numbers than other. We'll get to see that shortly here. Days on the market. So the days on the market are increasing, right? And that's why I don't use percentage on this one, because, you know, whatever the percent is, it's really only 3 days extra, right? So sometimes small changes might look different percent-wise because of how large the number is or how small the number is. But to put it in perspective of real life, homes are selling slightly slower than they did, but yet 21 days faster than they did this time last year. So again, back to the strength of the market, very, very competitive, very competitive. So then homes value between 450 and 500 move fastest, followed by 1.5 to 2 million, basically. That's 14 and 27 days. And how do you get that? You go back to your slide 4 and you go to your price range. Here's your average days on the market, this column right here. And that's how you start gauging expectations for your clients, whatever side they may be on. And then homes are selling quickly due to a combination of one, extremely low inventory, right? And then high demand. This is a very high demand area, excuse me. Contract to close. So I told you I'd bring this up. So this is to a large extent out of your control. It's everything that needs to happen once the deal is signed, right? But you'll see here, there's 2 consistent months moving up, right? So that's about a 17% increase in time needed to close a deal. And again, you would go to your price range and you'd find out what it looks like for you. But when you're filling out that contract, or when you're telling your sellers how long they can expect once it's under contract, say, hey, it's taking, turns out, a little bit longer than usual. Again, look at your price range. But that's something, and I put that here, this is worth taking into consideration, right? And obviously talk to your lenders and everything. They're the de facto on this. They're the one that'll give you the most. But that's happening. It seems to be happening here in Buncombe County. If you sold between 800 and 900, well, that took the longest to close in November, 141 days. So what does that even mean? That means the homes that finally closed in November, so we'll go to this chart. So you've got 800 to 900. Of those 8 homes, 1 or 2 of them were probably problem children. So it really brought the average up. So when your clients are like, oh, I don't want to wait that long, you have to know how to explain all of this. You have to know how to put it all into context. And it's always just go back to this slide, look at your personal price range. And generally it's about how many sold, right? There's 75 sold between 250 and 300. So those averages are pretty strong. If only 6 sold, or if only 1 sold, well, that's not an average at all, is it? So finally, contract to cash. So what is this? This is the moment I list the home to the moment your sellers deposit the check, or from under contract, move into it, right? So it's the addition of the days on market plus contract to close. So we got paid 8 days slower compared to November. Again, this is based on the averages altogether, right? But it's still 19 days faster than this time last year, right? So the overall increase this month was increased because both days on market and the contract to close process took a little bit longer. So it's an addition of both averages. So it's a genuine addition. But 450 to 499, if you're wondering where you should farm, hey, that's been selling very fast. They averaged 55 days in November, and then 1.5 to 1.9 again, which took about 65 days on average. And then the last slide of everything is, how does this happen? Well, I pulled the data this morning. So the MLS gives you 48 hours to put everything on. So I do 48 plus the morning of, just in case anyone's a little slow. And then the only formulas you need to know, other than counting, like 27 homes sold, because 27 homes sold. How do you get the absorption rate, months of inventory or pending? Those are the formulas. And if anyone has any questions or wants to add anything, now would be the time.
Nothing.
What's up?
I said nothing.
Here, I'm going to pick on, I can't remember your name, unfortunately, but
Marissa?
Miranda?
Marissa.
Me? What were you
Hello.
asking, son?
Pardon me?
Did you ask me something?
Yeah. I'm sure you're doing other things as well, but how was this? Was this too much? Was it just enough?
No, it was great. This is exactly, so I'm actually making a phone call today to a possible listing, and I feel like this is exactly what I'm gonna need to kind of explain to her, because I guess it's technically an expired listing. She had an agent and she wasn't happy with, and it ended, and she just kind of is like, my husband was working on her home and she was expressing how she is interested in selling, but wasn't getting what she wanted. So I feel like if I go in talking about these numbers, it could possibly help in my favor.
I see Jeff getting excited over there.
So,
Do you know what price range she's at?
My husband said $1 million. So, I mean, we'll see.
So looky here, right? How do you tell that specific story?
Exactly. So when you said that, I wrote all of this down, and I hope that, yeah, this will bring me some good news today.
Absolutely.
We will see.
Yes, you will.
But I really appreciate it. Yeah, this was extremely helpful.
Very cool.
So, Marissa, if you don't have, do you have somebody to pregame with before you go?
Well, I have my mentor now, Rachel Brown. Also, Jeff, I was supposed to be in your intentional combos this morning, and I thought it was at 8:30, so that's my bad.
That's all right. No worries. If it's helpful, you're welcome to call me before you go, and I can kind of help you with some language and stuff.
That would be great. Can I have your phone number?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll
yeah, because it's recorded.
I'm not putting it on the recording, but it's on the KW page, and you can get it wherever.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyone else? Carlos, I know you're a big participator. Can I pick on you? You got anything out of this? I'm not sure when you joined.
I joined not too long ago, but I'm also dealing with 2 husky puppies right now, so this is background, but I did hear the majority of it.
All right, cool. Puppies are real life.
Yeah, especially 2 at one time, then body training.
Yeah. All right, friends. Well, if there's no other questions, I will be sending this out shortly. I've still got to finish the other 2, and as always, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thanks, Zach. That was really super helpful.
Yeah. Oh, the only other thing I'll mention
so
here is on this same slide, right? You see how it says click here to see properties, right? If you click that, what happens, right? So if you have your own report, it'll go to yours. So this is mine, Zach Ruiz. Let's see if I click 300, 350, and it'll sort by the most recently updated homes, right? And if one of your clients clicks this, isn't interested in this home in particular, we'll wait for the internet to do its job here. Right? This all gets sent to your phone. You would get, if you have the Kelly app and everything, it'll say, hey, you've got a new client interested. They get to come here and say, ask your agent. So you get to use this as a tool to drive traffic to your one website, but 2 to your business as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, quick shameless.
How do they get that hooked up, Zach?
Get that hooked up just by reaching out to me. The Market Center sends one out, and all the links work as well, except it goes to the Market Center's page, right? It would be like being on floor duty. That person would get it. If you want it for yourself, all you have to do is reach out to me, set up on a monthly subscription, and off we go.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's really cool.
All right, guys. Thank you. Oh, did I miss something in chat? That's it. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Zach.
Bye.